We did it. We've teamed up, and together we've created something special. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network, and we're changing the game. We're covering Idaho high school sports in a way that you haven't seen before. Together, we'll be providing weekly breakdowns and recaps while helping uncover Idaho's top talent at a deeper level. Trust us, you want to be part of this. Boise Sports Talk, EBC Media, and the Gametime Guru bring you Gym Session. Let's get to it. What's up, everybody? Welcome out to another episode of Gym Session. I am Shane Larson, also known as the Gametime Guru, alongside AJ Niebergall from EBC Media. We are missing Ty Spangenberg from Boise Sports Talk. We miss him. We're working on some technical things with his devices and whatnot, so we're not sure how long it'll be before Ty joins us on Gym Session, but we're looking forward to the time where he does return. We also don't have Cherry. Lane from Cherry Films is working his big boy job, so he won't be able to join us either. So here we are, me and AJ, ready to recap week 2 of the season. Really excited for this, but before we get into this, I want to get a couple of housekeeping items out of the way. First and foremost, go Bucks. Buckeyes take the victory over Notre Dame this weekend. I happen to be there. I just have to say that. There's nothing like being in a stadium full of 106,000 fans. Just a whole different experience than what I'm always used to, and I always enjoy going to those big games. Experience of a lifetime. No sleep over the course of 3 days pretty much, but definitely a really cool experience. Happy about that. But to the other point, let's get through some of the other housekeeping items. I want to remind you guys, those who are rocking with us, make sure you're following us on Instagram. Instagram's our bread and butter, and we're actually doing a giveaway right now for our 9,000 followers. We appreciate everybody who's rocked with us from the beginning and those who have jumped on board. We appreciate every single one of you guys. So if you want to be part of the 9,000 giveaway, we've got awesome brands and whatnot working with us. I want to give a shout out to Cody Olinger from KO Recovery. He is an amazing guy. Like, I go to him for my stretch therapy. A lot of athletes are now using him. You guys might know the likes of Taylor Green from Boise State, who came in for Hank Bachmeyer this weekend and was playing. He is now one of the athletes that uses Cody. There's a couple of athletes from Rocky Mountain. I know I can't say their names, but they go there. If you guys are those dudes and you want to shout out Cody, do it. But he put into this giveaway. He's giving away a free 60-minute session. I promise you guys, you want to go check that out. So you'll feel like $1 million after you're done getting, your hips and your shoulders and your calves, your hamstrings, your ankles, everything worked out. You'll feel like $1 million. Also, shout out to the College of Idaho football team for putting into this giveaway as well, giving us 4 tickets to the game. So you would know about all these things if you followed us on Instagram. That's the whole point of it. Make sure you're following us there. We're also on Twitter. The handle's right here at ID Underground SN. Follow us there if you'd like to as well. And we just want to make sure you guys are following us on our social media channels. That's how we're providing this information to you guys throughout each week. AJ, I wasn't here this Friday, but I had an opportunity in Columbus, Ohio. It was late. I was tired that night from traveling, but I did have an opportunity to kind of go through some things and see the amazing coverage of the games that we were at. And we want to touch base. I know we're not, we don't have Ty here. We'll talk about the game of the week here in just a minute, where Tegan Sweaney absolutely just went off. But I also want to chat about the big game that you were at. It was the Battle of the Unbeatens, 2-0s, facing off Boise and Owyhee. And we had all picked Owyhee for various reasons, but the score showed something different than what we saw in the first half of that game. So I want you to actually break it down. Sometimes people are stat watchers, and they'll look at a final score and they'll be like, oh man, they blew the brakes off of them. But what was going on. It was a tale of two halves essentially at that game. So I want you to break it down for us so that the people who are the quote unquote, as Joe Rogan would say, the casual fans, the casuals who are stat watchers, they might not know what went down in that game. So can you break it down for us? Owyhee, Boise.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a tale of two halves. I'll tell you, Boise punched them in the mouth in the first half and dominated physically, which is not something we're accustomed to with Boise. These teams went at last year. They each had a 1 win last year, and each team's win was against the other. They played each other twice, and they were very heated, close games. This was no different. Boise was chirping. They were running their mouths the first half. They were just playing at a different speed. They were hitting Owyhee. They came ready to go. They got a safety, like a great punt, like a 65-yard punt right before halftime that went down to the 1-yard line. Owyhee had to call a timeout and ran a play to try to get out of the end zone. Duncan Thompson, who I've seen play twice now and who's a monster, gets a safety to end the half, put them up 16-0. The interesting thing was all 16 points in the first half by Boise were not scored on the Owyhee defense. We had a pick six from the Island Dog, Luke Britt, he was a beast. He's one of the best corners in the SIC. He had a pick six, and then they had a kickoff return. Owyhee scored first. Gabe Alvarado scored on a quick hitch, pulled some dudes in the end zone, and then the following kickoff was returned, 90 yards by Boise. And then Boise, of course, came back right after that, had the pick six. They jumped up 14-7, and it was a pretty defensive half. And then the safety, and then a field goal. Mr. Gamet from Owyhee, I think, hit a 40-yarder, 35, 40-yarder to get Owyhee to 10, and then the safety right before halftime, the great punt and the safety. So it was 16-10 at half, and it just felt like Boise was in control. They were dominating physically, and like I said, they were hitting harder, they were moving quicker. And then the second half starts, and it's a completely different attitude, a completely different Owyhee team. The defense even took another step up. They didn't give up any points in the first half. They played well, and they came out and they took it to another level, and they looked like a completely different ball team, and they didn't leave it to the offense. They just took the game over. They had 2 pick sixes. I think they had around 10 sacks as a team. I know Bo Jakes, our defensive player of the week, he had 4.5 himself. They had Cooper Hyatt, number 8. He had, I think, probably 4 sacks. Gage Haas I think he had 3 forced fumbles. Their linebacking, their front 7 defensively was really, really impressive, Guru. Like, these guys it was scaring me. It got to the point where I was like, Boise better be careful because guys are getting their heads knocked off. Cooper Smith, their quarterback, was running for his life. He never snapped it, stood in the pocket, made a pass. It didn't happen. He was running left, running right. He was getting hit. He was trying to make plays. He ended up leaving the game middle of the fourth quarter because he was just worn out. But Owyehee's defense, man, the 2 pick six. You've got Mason Rasmussen, who was laying the wood all night as well, especially in the second half. He had a pick six. Caden, oh man, geez, I forget his last name. Caden Lewis, maybe. I think that's wrong, but he had a pick six, and then the other pick six was Lucas Skinner. Lucas Skinner had a big pick six as well. So they had 3 picks, 21 of their points in the second half were pick six. They outscored Boise 35-0 in the second half, and it was unbelievable to watch. And I was watching this team, and I was like, this defense looks like they can play with anybody, because we've been worried about their secondary. Well, they were making plays. Joseph Curtis, who has been one of the top receivers in Idaho, had 0 catches. He at the end of the game, I mean, he was getting thrown to the ground. They were playing physical with him. They were in his head. He was getting real frustrated at the end of the game. He got cheap shotted on the last Owyhee rushing touchdown because Curtis was playing defense as well, and he got cheap shotted in the end zone, and all the frustration came out. And he's usually a pretty quiet kid. He was frustrated, and Owyhee was doing all the talking, and Boise couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it. That's usually who Boise is. I saw it in the first half. Then when Owyhee comes out and they're chirping and they're cheap shotting and they're laying the wood, Boise did not handle it. Both teams have improved drastically. I don't think Boise's done winning games. I know Owyehee's not, but you could see in the second half the level of physicality is just different for Owyhee when they play the way they did. I mean, Boise couldn't match it, but really good football game, and it was just big play after big play. I didn't finish posting all of my posts until 45 minutes after the game was over. There was so much to post. So great game. Bo Jakes was unbelievable leading that defense. Cooper Hyatt, Gage Haas, Mason Rasmussen. I mean, good Lord, they got dudes. I'm excited this week for Mountain View.
Yeah, we try to talk about it, AJ, and there was a couple people who gave us a little bit of flack for that. Like, come on now, like, why are you guys getting hyped up on this Owyhee team just because we went to their media day? But when we were there, Bo Jakes specifically, when I was interviewing him, I was like, yeah, this dude's hit the weight room. And there was a different confidence about them this year than last year because they had a year under their belt. They were more confident, and they have this leadership. Like, if you look at Haas, I mean, he's got a state championship himself from baseball. Like, he understands what it takes to win now. And as you know, Max Vedra's on that team, and, you know, he knows what it takes to win a state championship. They've got, I mean, Jackson Rasmussen, like, dudes know what it takes to win. So they've got this leadership that they didn't have there last year. And I don't think that goes, like, people don't realize how important that is for a team. I'm sure, yeah, the coaching has something to do with that second half, you know, revamp, but I'm sure the leadership in that locker room as well has something to do with it. Bo Jakes is an absolute monster, which is why, you know, I'm so glad to see that they were able to lock down on the secondary and have themselves a game. Credit the front line for making, you know, the quarterback scramble, but that's amazing because that relieves the corners, right? That relieves your secondary a little bit because you're getting pressure on the quarterback, which will make this week's matchup super exciting because Mountain View played the top 2 teams in the state of Idaho to start the season. We'll get into that Mountain View Rocky game here in just a second, but people are, you know, knocking them. I mean, they were competitive in both of those games. Mountain View is a solid team. However, offensively, I'm wondering who they're going to, I mean, apparently we've got an injured running back in Grayson Flatten. So we'll see what happens with the receiving core with Deontay Cobb and, Patton, what's his first name? Micah?
Mackay, I think.
Mackay. Sorry, it is Mackay. Good.
Yeah.
Patwell?
Goodness, yeah, Patwell. And they lost their top receiver, Traven Hardy. Shout out to my guy, Traven Hardy, at the start of the year, right before the season started. You know, I talked about it before. Knee injury. He was set to have a big year. He's out for the season. Grayson Flatten, like you said, I believe broke his ankle. I believe he's out for the season. So yeah, they're losing weapons. They're 0-2. But I'm really curious, Shane, as I was watching this game, is I'm a little bit suspect on this Owyhee offense. They've got guys, they've got playmakers in different places. The offensive line has dudes. Are they going to be able to score enough on this Mountain View defense? Because this will be a different defense than they've seen in any of these first 3 games, including Madison with Perkins and Maley and Childs and McBride. Like, I don't know. I'm going to end up taking Mountain View, but this is the biggest game in Owyee's history thus far. One of the big 4 comes into your house. You're 3-0, feeling good about yourself. Who is Owyhee really? I think we're going to find out because Mountain View is going to be as hungry as ever and ready to just lay the wood. So it's going to be a fun one for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to this game. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I think Mountain View, they've got their backs against the wall now. Injured, one of their top players is injured. They're trying to find themselves on offense. They're trying to figure this out. And now they're going against a very, very excited, hungry, up-and-coming Owyhee team on the road. This could be a make-or-break game for Mountain View in the season. Like, okay, we can handle that. There's no moral victories, but you can kind of like swallow that loss a little bit. Meridian game, very competitive. They had their chances to win it at the end. Rocky, I mean, they were competitive, and then all of a sudden Tegan went off. They had their chances. And then this one, I mean, this is kind of like their chance. Like, okay, this isn't going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be a dogfight, which is why I'm excited that you're going to be there. Owyhee, we can't wait to be there. We hope you guys show out as well. We know you will. Mountain View, I hope to see their student section show out, and that's going to be a dogfight. Going over to Rocky and Mountain View, game of the week. We had Ty and Cherry over there providing coverage of this game. Tegan Sweaney. We've been waiting for him, you know, to kind of – that was like kind of the question mark. We know that Rocky, arguably across the board, has the best athletes in the state of Idaho. They're a deep team. They have athletes in every position. They're very talented, well-coached program. And it was a matter of, can they put it all together? Well, so far this season they had, and now we were going to see what they could do against, you know, Mountain View. We're like, how will they match up with this tough defense? And Tegan Sweaney went off. That's kind of the question mark. We're like, can he be consistent? Can he have those games that we know that he's capable of having? Because he's going to be their X factor. He's got the weapons. Can he get the ball in their hands, essentially, is what I'm saying. And he did. He also got it done on his feet, too. He was a playmaker. And we always say big-time players make big-time plays in big-time moments. Tegan did exactly that this week. Talk to me about what you thought of and what you saw from the highlights of the Mountain View Rocky game as Rocky takes the Axe back home.
I'm thinking Luke Lucchini looks like a Division I wide receiver. I mean, yes, oh my goodness gracious. I saw him in person for the first time. It had been a while, and he was in a cutoff, and I was like, this is a wide receiver. And, you know, him and Jacobson physically are just – there's not going to be a more, you know, imposing receiver duo in the state. There's no way. But Lucchini continues to make plays in all the highlights I see. I'm excited to watch him play. Jacobson as well. He had a great catch toe tap I believe it was a conversion, 2-point conversion.
Yeah, 2-point conversion.
Yeah, super impressive. Shout out to CJ Jacobson, just narrowed his college choice down to his top 6, and man, he's got some big schools in there. So congrats to him on that. But Tegan Sweaney, for me, and I have been vocal about this. I love Tegan Sweaney as a person. I know the family. I've coached his younger brother, so big Sweaney, family fan. But Tegan has been kind of that, can Tegan make the plays when he needs to make the plays against the bigger, badder teams? And wow, against the defense he did it against, good for him. That shows he has it in him. That just, for me, another notch of Rocky being the team to beat. That's what that shows me. I mean, he could have a 5-touchdown game against a team, lower in the standings, this year, maybe a Timberline or Capital, and okay, but against a Mountain View defense with all the guys that I just named a minute ago, really impressive. I know they got down, and they fought back, and then he closed the door with the 60-yard run. I mean, good for him, good for them. If that becomes the norm, they're not losing. They're not going to lose a game because they're so good defensively and they're just so imposing offensively. But got to continue to see it. Right there, because against their second game they played, Coeur d'Alene, it wasn't as crisp and clean. First game against Middleton, they scored 21 points and they got up 21-0 and then didn't score the rest of the game and it got stagnant. So we'll see, but very impressive performance. That's why he's one of our players of the week. He deserves it. I know he works hard. Great kid. Congratulations, Tegan Sweaney. But you got guys like Troy Wilkie and Gage Tanner, and you've got like some of the best athletes in the state at their position. Like, I think they've got probably the best DB in the SIC, maybe the best linebacker. I mean, I think he might be the only linebacker that has a Division I offer at this point. So he is at linebacker. And then you've got Fulmer on the other side, and then Jacobson and Lucchini, and Art Williams is playing both ways. And you still got some guys there that haven't even gotten going yet. And they're going to get their numbers and they're going to get going. And so Rocky Mountain's scary. It impressed me that Mountain View did take a lead early and that Mountain View did hang in there. And Mountain View, I think, is who we think they are. They're losing all these guys. They start 0-2, but it looks like they can compete with a Meridian and a Rocky. And if one play here or there against Meridian, a drop touchdown catch, they win that game. At Rocky Mountain, you get a stop or two, don't give up a big play here or there, and all of a sudden it's a different ball game at home. But Luke Lucchini for me is the name that I continue to just eyes pop every week on some of his highlights and the work he's putting in the weight room from what I hear. Good for Luke Lucchini, but Rocky's a monster.
Yeah, they're scary for sure. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do the rest of the season. I mean, what it looks like is they're hitting a stride early, which is huge. And I'm looking at the schedule. I'm not trying to discredit anybody. You don't ever overlook anyone, but there's a matchup later in the season with Meridian, and that could be, man, that could be what we all want it to be if both teams execute properly. But Rocky, I don't expect them to lose, and we'll see what happens when they meet Meridian if everyone stays healthy, and we don't know what's going to happen between now and then. But Rocky's dangerous, man, on both sides of the ball. And like you said, if Tegan can continue to play at that level, man, that is a nasty team, not just for the SIC, but that's for the entire state of Idaho. Over at Eagle High School, Daniel Wise, shout out to D Wise for getting the coverage for us again. He'll be helping us out at the Rocky game this week. He's going to be there. We got confirmation of that. So AJ, this is your, I forgot to tell you that. So there you go. We got confirmation that he will be at the Rocky game, getting us some coverage this week. But at Eagle and Cuna was coming in there a little bit hot, right? They were doing pretty well. We were wondering how they were going to, come into Eagle's home for their home opener. Eagle coming off a loss and then a bye week. What were they going to do? And Eagle came out and they got the job done and they won. I believe it was 21-7 final score. You got to talk to church boy Seth Brock, right? So talk to us about, what you saw from the game. Daniel provided coverage. I want to give another shout out to Daniel. Thank you guys for supporting him. Make sure that you're following his channel as well, because he'll be providing more coverage for us on the separate channels when he goes to certain games. So make sure you're following him. I'm so glad that he got some of the footage for us. It helps us out a ton to get that out to the fans, all the people who were watching it. But AJ, after talking to Seth Brock, after seeing this, and Eagle coming off a loss, beating an undefeated Cuna team at their house, were you impressed? Are there question marks? What should we be looking for the Mustangs?
Man, I wasn't impressed. I'm not impressed with a 21-7 to win at home after a loss in a bye week to CUNA. That does not impress me. There's things offensively that they're just going to have to figure out. I feel like Duarte is not getting the ball in his hands enough, whether that's on more quick hitters or jet sweeps or quick slants or something. Ian Duarte, based on recruiting, is one of the best receivers in Idaho. Hands down, easily. He's got an Arizona offer, a Fresno State offer. Like, the kid needs the ball in his hands. I know Longston likes to run the ball, and he's doing well there. He may lead the league in touchdowns from a rushing standpoint now, because I think he had 1 or 2 touchdowns this past week. But Martino and Hull are one of the best running back duos in Idaho. And then you've got one of the best receivers. And then, Cal Renner's one of the top offensive linemen. Like, and against a CUNA team that gave up 43 points a game last year, when you're at home, I expected something more. But also, it says something about CUNA, who has definitely improved defensively, but up front offensive line, from an offensive line standpoint, they gave up a ton of sacks. Cole Lukengay is not a guy is extremely mobile. He's not going to run all over the place, but if you let him sit and throw the ball, he will beat you. CUNA will beat you if you don't get pressure on him. Carter Davis, Seth Brock, the church boy, they were getting pressure on him. Matt, my boy, shout out to my boy, Jack Giannini, Eli Makita. They were getting enough pressure on him to make him uncomfortable. They only scored 7 points. That's a team that can score 77 points if you do not get to Lukengay, because he's such a gunslinger. That did impress me, that defensively, after, what they had to deal with Meridian, they came out and they dominated. So defensively, I was impressed. Offensively, I am not impressed with Eagle. But they have the weapons to impress us all and really beat anybody on any day. It's just going to be a matter of how they do that. But defensively, they've got some guys. Dallas Sargent's playing well in the secondary. The guys I mentioned, Carter Davis, Seth Brock, Eli Makita, they've got guys. I think they'll be competitive. I don't think I'm really curious to see how they do against Nampa, Middleton, kind of those teams, because those teams are looking like they could be in the 4, 5, 6 range. Yep. With how competitive they've been, and then their game against each other, and then what Nampa just did to Bora. I mean, it's going to be fun to watch that. But no, I was not impressed by the score line. I wasn't at the game. I was more impressed that CUNA defensively was able to hold their own with how much I'm hearing Eagle had the football. So a very defensive game, which a game like that, you maybe don't expect it to be as defensive, but it was. But that's kind of how I feel about that one.
For sure. I think I got to give grace to Eagle to a certain extent. I mean, I don't actually think a bye week is always the best thing for flow, for rhythm and flow. I do think, it helps you stay healthy, but when you're 1 week into the season, that's kind of weird, right? It's kind of an odd thing. You kind of get a flow playing in week 0, and then you kind of get out of that flow. It's the same concept. I was at this Ohio State Notre Dame game the other night, dude, being on primetime television. I swear to you, there is a media timeout every other play. I was telling this guy next to me who's a Notre Dame fan, I'm like, there's no flow to this game, dude. Like, nobody, and that's a 3.5 minute stop. So anyway, there's a thing to be with like rhythm and flow. So sometimes I'm like, okay, well, the bye week, you would expect them to be all healthy, but I wouldn't expect them to be that banged up anyway after 1 week. But here's the other thing with this 4, 5, 6. This is what I'll say. Those 4, 5, 6 teams, like those guys, as they get ready for like the end of the season, it's kind of about who's playing well, who's healthy at the end of the year. I think Eagle, like you were talking about, you pointed out some of their weapons that they have and some of the potential that they have. I think with a new quarterback and you're trying to figure things out, they still have a lot of potential to get really, really good. Those teams that they'll play this year, we'll see. We'll see what they're all about. But I think that they have the potential to start playing very well, especially when playoff time comes around. And sometimes it's about who's playing best at that time. It's not always about who's best right now. It's about who's best at that time to kind of get you into that, the state realm and get to the championship game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can produce. I haven't been, overly excited about them. I'm kind of in the same boat as you yet, but I still think that they, let's give them another week or two to kind of get their flow.
Yeah.
You mentioned. Whoop.
Sorry, you froze up for a second. Maybe it was me. Technical difficulties. This is what Mr. Boise Sports Talk is dealing with.
Man, this is what happens. Can you hear me now,
yep.
AJ?
Yeah, we're good now. We're good, my man.
We'll see if this continues to happen for me. But
continues to happen for me. Froze. Luckily, we can cut certain parts of the video, and then there we go. There you are again. I see you moving around, buddy. There we go.
Man, I hope this is working. I got kids out in the front streaming stuff. Like it's tough. Can you hear me, AJ?
I hear you. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so Nampa, we'll say it again. Nampa, we see you, we hear you. We saw all the players, the parents, all the fans talking about Nampa. Be ready for these guys. We were excited to have Meyer Media. So Malachi was over there on Friday night getting some coverage of the Nampa game. Great atmosphere over there. We love that stadium. The stadium's super cool. I'm looking forward to getting to a game out there this year if I can. We're glad to see you guys in 5A. We wanted to see you guys prove it. And Daniel Carillo, I hope I pronounced that right. If it's Carillo, correct us, please. But Carillo, Daniel, man, what a game he had as they ran all over that Bora team. Bora was coming in. We were trying to see, that was kind of a question mark game. Will they be able to last against that Nampa team on the road? And Nampa came in hungry. They're ready to prove something. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They remind me of that Skyview team of last year. Just a lot of dogs out there just ready to go, and they play hard. They're not really scared of anybody. So that's a team you've got to be worried about. When a team comes in and they don't fear anyone, they have no hesitancy. They might not have, quote unquote, the best athletes across the board. They might not be stacked like a Rocky Mountain, but they have dogs who aren't scared of anybody. And sometimes that's going to give you an edge a lot of the time. And as long as you execute, as long as those quote unquote dogs, all right, those dudes on your team can execute, that's scary because they don't have fear. And it looked like that the other night, man. They took down Bora and just rocked them. I'm looking forward to seeing Nampa moving forward. Was there anything you wanted to touch base on that Nampa Bora game as Meyer got the highlights for us, AJ?
No, excited about them. Like I just said, we didn't know where Nampa Middleton was going to be, trying to bring but both those teams, it feels like they're trying to show us all like we belong and we're going to make some noise. Like I said, I haven't looked into the schedules too much, but I cannot wait to see, Nampa Eagle or Middleton Mountain View, like games like that, because we talked about it. There's always been a top four. If Eagle, Mountain View, Meridian, or Rocky doesn't or loses to somebody that's not themselves, it's always an upset. It's a surprise. Middleton and Nampa seem like they're ready to blow that party of four up. And I want to see if it can happen. That's what I'm most excited about at this point. But yeah, and Nampa beating Middleton, like I said last week, the last two times Nampa and Middleton had played, Nampa had won on a last second field goal both years. And then this year, Middleton wins by 2. So those teams seem very comparable and very tough from what we're seeing. I still can't believe the 21-7 result Middleton got against Rocky. That's when we were kind of like, wait a minute, you lost 21-7? Like, that's it? When we thought Rocky was going to be 55-0. So really excited about Middleton against Meridian this week. I'm actually a little bit worried for Meridian going on the road. Middleton's already lost a game. They've already experienced Rocky Mountain. It was a good game. They're going to be ready for Meridian. Meridian's coming off a bye week, which we kind of just touched on. Meridian better be ready for what Middleton's going to throw at them, because Middleton's got a Division I safety who also plays quarterback, who is going to be an issue to deal with. So we'll see. That's going to be a fun game. I believe you're going to be at that one. But for me, I think that could be a trap game for Meridian. I think it could be a game that if Meridian doesn't show up and they overlook Middleton and they think they're too good for Middleton, Middleton could surprise them, and Meridian better be ready.
I was going to get into that. I love that you touched base. Nampa, Middleton, those two teams. Middleton gets that opportunity to blow up that party of 4 this week. They really do. They get that chance at home against a hungry Meridian team that's coming off a bye week. Who knows? Maybe they're going to be healthy. Maybe they're going to have to take a second to get back in rhythm. Who knows what's going to happen? Middleton has a shot there. I'm really, really excited about that game. Middleton's fan base, I love the town out there. They're very tight-knit. It's a very... it's a unique situation out in Middleton. They kind of live in their own world, and I actually appreciate that about them. I mean, when the whole world was shutting down for a pandemic before, they called their shots over there. And I gave them all the respect. I'm like, you know what? I like it over here. They call the shots of what they do. And so they're a very tight-knit community. The community is very, supportive of their programs. So I'm expecting a great atmosphere there. They know what's coming. They finally got a taste of a victory, and now they're really ready to show, like, okay, we can hang with the top dogs. I was with you, AJ. I was actually very worried for Meridian. I am very worried for Meridian going into this game, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Middleton brings to the table and how Meridian responds. This will be a huge game. This is why we love high school football, though. It's why we love the sports, because we get to see these big time players. Middleton's, big time players. Can they make those big time plays in big time moments? You're playing the number 2 ranked team in our standings, arguably not just the SIC, but the state of Idaho. In Meridian, you already got a taste of Rocky. They probably got some confidence going into this one. It's going to be exciting. So you'll be over to Owyhee Mountain View. We've got Middleton and Meridian that I'll be covering this week. We've got Bora and Kuna that are playing each other. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, we're at Kuna.
Bora at Kuna, which is
interesting because one of those teams is going to start 3-1 and have a great start to the season.
Both teams are coming off a loss on that too, and that's what's exciting, because we're talking about that 4, 5, 6 standings of the SIC. Like who really deserves that 4, 5, 6 standing? Like who's going to jump in there and stay consistent? Well, Bora Kuna, like that's a big one to kind of tell us where they're at in the middle of the pack. So keep an eye on that. Some people would say, oh well, they're 2 guys coming off a loss. Well, like AJ just said, one of them moves to 3-1 after this one. So who's it going to be? Can Bora rush all over him? Can Kuna throw the ball?
Exactly.
It's air raid or rush attack.
Yeah, it's grounded pound versus air raid. Literally what I was just going to say. It's going to be an interesting game. Can Kuna stop, Parker Rushton? And then is it? I always mix up his name. It's Parker Rushton, right? Not Rushton Parker. It's Parker Rushton. I know. Sorry about any time I've screwed that up, but can they stop him? Maybe the best back in the league. And then can Bora put enough pressure on Kuna like Eagle did to not let them throw the ball all over the field, especially at home? It's going to be super fun game that we almost made that the game of the week.
Yes.
Because it's going to be, it's such a great game, but we ended up switching that up.
Hold on a second though. Yeah, it's Parker Rushton. Okay,
yeah.
Just making sure. Parker Rushton. Yeah, just guys, we know who you are. I promise it. Sometimes we get each other all mixed up on here, but we're really excited for that game too. Some big games coming. We've got Eagle at Rocky. Like I said, Daniel Wise will be there. We'll see if, Eagle can get themselves rolling, or if Rocky's going to continue to just, be on their steamroll, if you will. Meridian Middleton out in Middleton, Bora at Kuna, Owyhee hosting Mountain View. We've got a slate of amazing games. We're missing out on a few of the other ones too, but we just want to let you know what's going on in the SIC. Follow us on Instagram, because we're going to show you which channel. So if, for example, I'll be out at Meridian Middleton, so you'll want to follow the Gametime Guru on Instagram, because that's where we'll be posting that one. The game of the week will be hosted on the Idaho Underground Sports Network Instagram page. That's where AJ will be, and he'll be getting the coverage for you on that page. But if any of our other entities like Daniel Wise, if you want to get the Rocky game, you'll follow his page and so forth. We want to make sure that you guys are following the right pages to get the right coverage for everything as we continue to build this network. We've already talked about our players of the week: Bo Jakes, Tegan Sweaney, Daniel Carillo. Monster performances. We're looking forward to seeing a monster performance from somebody. So AJ, I'm going to ask you this as we're getting ready to wrap up this episode of Gym Session. Who is a player you are looking forward to see this week that you think will have a major impact on his team for this week's matchups?
Well, I'm getting a little flame game, a little Schurzy action of my guy Mason Childs, who is one of my favorite players to watch on Mountain View. I'm really excited to finally get a chance to see Mountain View play. I'm a fan of how they do things over there. I'm a fan of those players. Ivan Perkins, shout out. Traven Hardy, like I was talking about earlier. But Mason Childs, for me, Braden Garrison leaves, our defensive player of the year last year. Mason Childs steps in. He takes his jersey number 8. Big fan of Mason as a person, as a player. I'm excited to see this Mountain View defense get after this Owyhee offense. And how can Owyhee respond? They're a little banged up in the backfield. Owyhee, are they going to have to throw the ball a little more? Owen McBride is another guy I cannot wait to watch play. I think he took the number 4 from Mason Childs from last year. McBride and Childs, for me, I think are going to be difference makers. I am going to go with Mountain View in that game. I think it's time they get a win. But if Owyhee goes and wins this game, a whole new conversation begins. Owyhee has arrived. They win this game. They have arrived. They are now a part of the top 4 party that will now be top 5. It's the biggest game in their school's history. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But Bo Jakes again. I would like to see what he does against a team like Mountain View. I talked to Corbin Meisner, obviously a good friend of mine. Corbin Meisner said that Mountain View's offensive line is the real deal. They're tough. Those are some tough offensive linemen. They don't mess around. So it's going to be interesting to see how Jakes and Hyatt and Haas and those guys do against a team like Mountain View. Really curious to see how this is going to go down. More so for Owyhee, how they're going to be able to handle what Mountain View is going to throw at them.
That's going to be such a fun matchup. I can't explain it enough. I mean, that Owyhee front seven is dominant, but Mountain View, when I saw it at the Meridian game, they have this rushing attack. Now we'll have to see how the running back situation pans out for them, but Mountain View's rushing attack, it's this delayed zone run, and they were getting holes enough to get, 4 or 5 yards a pop, and they would get to the second level. They get to those linebackers in the defense because that line couldn't fill the gaps. They were moving people. Corbin's right. They were moving some dudes, and that's a Meridian line that's pretty stout. So Mountain View has some dogs up front. You're playing strength against strength. That front seven of Owyhee and that front five, of Mountain View. That's a fun chess match. Can Owyhee force Mountain View to throw the ball? Can they force him to throw the ball? And if they can, if you get him in those third and long positions, can Bo Jakes pin his ears back and just go? Right? That's what makes it exciting. Who would have thought Owyhee Mountain View, this top game with all these things, like all these storylines behind it. And here we are. It's the biggest game for them in their school's history. And we're like super stoked for it. I'm so stoked for that coaching staff and for those players. That culture at Owyhee has shifted. Mountain View, they're trying to find their identity. They're trying to get on that winning track. Owyee's shifting. Super exciting. We're looking forward to it, guys. We're going to be providing you guys that coverage. Make sure you're following us on all of our stuff. We're going to let y'all go. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, we apologize that Ty wasn't with us. We're going to try to figure out his situation. If we don't have him next week, though, it'll be me and AJ at least. Try to get some of the guys on here. Reminder, if you guys are not already following us, though, on our separate channels, Ty's is at Boise Sports Talk. He's already hit 10K followers. We're also looking to hit 10K followers. We're going to do a massive giveaway for you guys at 10K. We're at the 9K mark right now, but go follow Boise Sports Talk for all the coverage around the Valley on all the stuff. I mean, he's even covering Boise State women's soccer right now, so you can get that. Go check it out. AJ's at EBC_media on Instagram. He's covering some volleyball for you guys extensively, along with his podcast. AJ, where can they find your podcast at for the volleyball situation?
Yeah, just my YouTube channel, which you're helping me figure out how to run.
You're doing great, dude. You're getting views all over the place.
I mean, I'm figuring it out. I'm trying to make it look nice like you guys do, and it's fun to learn, and I do appreciate your time. I'm really just engulfed into volleyball now. Even girls soccer, I'm going to weekly, and I'm having fun getting to know the players and the teams, and I'm getting ready to maybe do some girls soccer rankings because I'm figuring it out. But I don't know, man. It's fun. I love it. It's fun to show the ladies some love. Yeah, it's going well, man. So come check me out if you like volleyball, you like girls soccer. And I just did for the first time Boise Sports Talk. Shout out to our boy Ty. He told me, he said, hey, you don't have to do a reel for every game you go to, because I love making reels. Like, we all know that. He goes, something you could do is you could implement all the sports like at the end of the month and like top plays of the month. So I did that the other day, and I collabed with Idaho Underground Sports, and that was a ton of fun. I'm getting really good feedback on that. Like, hey, super cool. Like all the little storylines, and you posted like 15 highlights of all the different sports. It's fun, man. We're trying to grow it. We're having fun with it, and we're all supporting each other, and just a beautiful thing. So I appreciate you, Mr. Guru.
Absolutely, man. I'd like to say this is what Draymond Green would say is the new media. No disrespect to anybody else. The media is all out here to try to help uplift everybody, but we would consider ourselves the new media, trying it in a little different way, more unique to the modern day situation. And AJ was the first of his kind to start doing this. I started following AJ 2.5, 3 years ago when I saw his page randomly pop up. I'm like, who is this guy? Hey, it's Coach AJ. And I'm like, yeah, dude. Followed him from day one, and I'm glad to be working with him. Make sure you guys are following Cherry Films as well. He is one of the best videographers for sports, and he's covering the games for us around the Valley. We love Cherry and what he's been able to do to uplift every one of these programs and these players. So go follow him on Instagram. Check his stuff out as he continues to blow up. And then if you want to follow me at Gametime Guru, go follow that. That's my podcast platform. I'll post stuff from obviously Idaho Underground Sports Network and all the stuff that we're doing here. But I also have my podcast that I do weekly. This week, if you guys want to know if you're in the Valley, I've got a chiropractor who does sports chiropractic for people. It's kind of a unique take. He lives in Meridian, Idaho. His practice is out of Meridian. He's awesome. He's an awesome dude. Come check it out. And if you guys are into soccer, I just had a former collegiate soccer player on my team. I haven't had a lot of soccer interviews, so I would encourage you guys to go listen to that. Addison Watson, he played at Missouri State. I actually work with him in my full-time job. He's a lawyer for us. He's a stud, though. Young dude who just has a lot of knowledge when it comes to the sport of soccer. So he talks about that. So if you're a soccer player looking to play at the next level, he's got a lot of insight for you because he knows what it's like. Guys, on behalf of AJ Niebergall from EBC Media, I am Shane Larson from the Gametime Guru. We are the Idaho Underground Sports Network. This is Gym Session, and we'll be coming to you next week with another one. Take care.